Welcome back. It is Thursday afternoon and we are going to draw for 2 hours. Today I decided to do, I would say, a classic Disney film. I was going to say retro, but I feel like retro is more mid-century, whereas classic is more like 30s, 40s Disney. Anyway, doesn't matter. That's beside the point. The point is that today I'm going to be doing Bambi. So let's get started. Okay. So, oh no, what happened to my, here we go. So we're going to do Bambi. What you guys are looking at is sort of this really loosey-goosey, like off the top of my head, what I remember Bambi looking like. I haven't seen the movie in maybe 5 years, 4 or 5 years, I would say. So I am not very familiar with Bambi's form. And I wanted to do Bambi in the style that is original to the film and not necessarily what you are used to seeing on, like, if you just do a Google search. So what I really like to use, and this is something that I learned when I was making Disney enamel pins, is a website called animationscreencap.com. They have screen caps from a whole bunch of Disney films. Ignore the Oreo ad. As delicious as it looks. And they basically screen cap every second or so. And these screen caps are pretty high res. I think this is early on when Bambi is first born. And fun fact about Bambi, Bambi's background design was done by a Chinese-American artist whose name totally escapes me, but I saw a really great presentation of his work a couple of years ago. So we're just going to take a look at, just going to grab random screen grabs. And I think one of the most important things, one of the best things you could do for yourself as an artist is give yourself the time to sit and look and study. I say this constantly, and it's as true as anything else. You really have to take the time to study your subjects. Whatever it is that you want to draw, take the time to look at it and examine it before you start drawing it. So let's see. I really like this view because it gives you a really good view of what's going on proportionally in his like his chest versus his stomach and his head. So it gives you just this moment to like look at it, and you see this is kind of again that bean shape that I mentioned earlier. And you'll notice that this volume of his head and of his belly are the same size, whereas his chest is going to be a little bit smaller. So taking the time to look at that sort of information and studying it is going to elevate your abilities. And it's ultimately going to just make for better drawings. So all we're doing at this stage is kind of familiarizing ourselves with the character. And what I'm looking at is not just like what does it look like, but also what are the spatial relationships between the different forms. So I'm looking at this shape between his legs, that triangle, and I'm looking at my reference and I'm going, is that the same shape? Is that the same volume? Are the proportions the same? Are the angles of that triangle the same? It's going to be the same thing with this S curve right here. Is that proportional to what I have in my reference? Oh, so itchy. I'm looking at like the angle of the ears and I'm like, okay, well, like what does that actually look like? How is the angle of the ears coming out of his head? Like, are they straight up? Are they completely out to the side? Are they at an angle like this? I think they're a little off to the side, but they sit still pretty straight up. Where does that eye line fall? So likewise, we have a different angle here, right? So what is this volume that we're looking at? So we're looking at his booty, right? The tail is down. But we know that this volume is smaller, a bit smaller than his chest volume. And even if we're squashing and stretching that circular shape of any of his forms, whether it's his butt, his chest, or his head, the volume of this space is going to be consistent proportionally across all of your drawings. So if you're trying to draw a character that's moving really quickly or doing like kind of a fun like walk or run cycle, they're going to have that squash and stretch. And all of those volumes are still going, like the mass of those volumes isn't going to just like disappear. So I know that this looks something like that. And this like, so a quick note about anatomy of animals, especially four-legged animals. I think a lot of people have this misconception that hind legs are broken knees or backwards knees or something like that. So I'm going to draw that hind leg. And here we have this front leg, right? Same thing over here. I really wanted to point out that this is not a backwards knee. It's not a broken knee. The way that a human's legs are, so you have this is what's going on in a human leg, right? This is what we're used to looking at. Animals are no different. They have exactly the same shape. Hey, Angry Battle Rabbit, I love your name, so cute. Humans and any other mammal is going to have the exact same knee. They're going to have the exact same hips. It's just proportioned differently. So it's the same thing with Bambi. This is his pelvic bone up here. So what we're actually looking at is this is his knee. And then this is his heel. And then right here, these are basically his toes. So when you're looking at animals and you're drawing them, be sure that you're keeping that in mind when you're drawing out their volumes. And that's going to make your drawing that much better if you can understand the skeletal structure of your character. So I'm going to go back to animationscreencaps.com. And I'm just going to continue to look at Bambi's form. So when I worked at a company that did enamel pins for Disney, I spent a lot of time on this website because when you're creating something that is coming out of Disney Direct, you don't have any room for interpretation. So he's got an elongated foot is the question that's being asked. Yes, he has an elongated foot. We could do just a really quick deer anatomy. So if you look at the bones here, Atlas of Animal Anatomy. I want to please don't be Pinterest. I hate looking at Pinterest because it takes forever to load. I hate you. And it's like, look at all these other deer drawings. And it's like, I don't want to see the other deer drawings. I just want to see my deer. Ugh! Screw you. Here we can see it a little bit better here. So what we see is, if we're looking at, please just open the image. I'm so triggered. Okay. So if we're looking at the deer, yeah, that what looks like a backwards knee. It's Carolyn from Illinois. Oh, hi, Carolyn! Yay! Thank you for watching. What we think is a backwards knee is actually a heel bone. And so you can see that that S curve, that shape is following exactly how a knee and a foot in a human body would. It's just, again, it's an elongated foot. So yeah, things to keep in mind as you're building out these characters. So let's see, we have this really cute moment with the butterflies. We're gonna pull this because I think that this is like iconic Bambi for the background, and it's just a really great reference for all of the flowers, and we're gonna put that into our drawing. So cute. Okay, so we have sort of an understanding of what Bambi's anatomy is, and what I was saying is, when you're drawing something that is going to be living in a Disney store, there's very little room for interpretation. There's very little room for fan art. You're actually, what is happening? You're actually creating something that is going to live in the store, and so you really need to be super mindful of that. So what I think we're gonna do is, I really love the front part of this. So I'm going to do a really, really loose. I really love the front part of his legs here. I love this shape right here. That's sort of like, ah, perching forward. We're going to open this shape out a little bit. And then here, we'll make it look like he's jumping. So I was assigned to a Bambi pin when I was working at Pincraft, and we kept getting revisions. And when you work in a professional environment, especially when you're working with characters like Disney characters, they're going to be really, really uptight about how the character looks, and they're going to be very, very uptight about colors. And on this particular project, it was part of a series that's already coming out. I really don't like, I want to elongate that a little bit more. It was a series of pins that was a 3-pin set. And most of the art for it was done, but we kept getting notes coming back about the colors. And that is just something that just like, you don't think about sort of the things that you have to like go through and you have to adjust in your drawing until you're working in a professional setting, and especially a company like Disney where they're very protective and very, very careful about what their characters look like. And that's because we as the audience, in some way, we kind of we have this sort of communal ownership of what Bambi looks like. We all know what Bambi looks like. And we're going to call it out if we see Bambi looking in a way that doesn't really look like Bambi. And it's just not good branding, and it's just not... It's foolish to not, you know, just use the good, like, design work that's already available to you. So I find it really, really important to honor the design work and all of the references that are already available to you. So I'm trying to lay out my flowers right now, and I can't do 3 things at once. I really like this flower. But yeah, I think it's really foolish to not capitalize on what you have available to you. You have tons of resources, you have tons of stuff out there that is going to indicate exactly what this character looks like. And if you don't take the time to really study it, you're doing yourself a huge disservice because it's already out there, and we have a collective conscience of what this character looks like. And even if you're doing like a stylistic impersonation or your version of what a character looks like, it's still worth looking at your references and really honoring them. Okay, so we're gonna merge all of that. So basically what I'm thinking about is a layout. So since I'm talking about drawing pins and designing pins, I'm going to design this pretty much as I would a pin. This is very quickly turning into a typography situation. Maybe we'll do one. And you'll notice I'm doing everything on completely separate layers, and that's because if I hate something, it's really easy to change it, to move it. Worried about this tangent with the tail. There we go. And then we have a little bit of tangenting here, so we're gonna tuck that way. Cool. And if we hate it, we'll get rid of it later. We'll adjust it. So early on in your process, whenever you're doing any drawing, you want to work quickly and loosely, and you don't want to obsess about the details. You just want to be sure that your basic proportions are locked in and that your composition is making sense. And usually around this point, I'll go in with a red line and just kind of clean it up a little bit. So I don't know how I feel about this shape for the lettering, so we're going to try that. And we're going to try that sort of silhouette. So now I'm not just thinking about what does Bambi look like, what do these flowers look like, what does my lettering look like. I'm thinking about everything as a compositional whole. Cool. Take that down a bit. Cool. So we're into that, so we're going to go back and we're going to get rid of this spring. And then for Bambi, let's go in and start cleaning him up and making sure that we really have an understanding of what exactly his proportions are and what he really truly looks like. Another trick, let me take a quick sip. Another trick that a lot of people employ, and we don't talk about it because it feels like cheating, and you don't want to encourage people to do this, but if you find that a character has very, very complex proportions, like for example on Bambi's head, if you're just like really struggling with it, but you know you're going to use this pose, you're going to use exactly that same head shape, but you're going to move his eyes, if you're in a rush and you just want to trace it, just trace it. Like, no one's going to know if you're doing that, and if it makes your drawing that much better, you might as well do it. And I personally find if you trace something, you actually learn quite a bit from that process. So if you ever feel like you're stuck when you're doing a Disney character, don't shy away from that. Sometimes tracing the character will help you understand them a little bit better. So I deleted that layer. Okay. So I'm just looking at these volumes. The darkness of this is like driving me crazy. Okay. So we know that his eye and his little snout are almost the same volume. And that's sort of the bridge of his nose, which is where the white part, the eyeshadow part, is going to come in. And these lines tend to mimic each other. They tend to echo each other. So this line, I'm not just making up whatever lines. I'm actually thinking in the inside of my head, like, what is the bridge of his nose? And it's actually coming from that spot there. Bottom of his head. And early Disney characters tend to have this a lot, where they build out the form and then there's this like bottom lid, like Muppet style, that's just like like underneath their volume. Usually when we smile, our cheeks will push up on our lower eyelids, which is why you get that sort of like shape. What, like when people like draw like a happy face, it's like yeah. That's why. It's because these muscles are pushing everything up. I totally just spat all over my iPad. So cool. And then let's see. So I'm just trying to look, again, like it's all about looking at what your reference is and really trying to honor it. I'm just looking at the line that's running from his nose across his eye and then up to his ear. Do you guys see that it's basically an S curve? And then that curve kind of continues up to create the inside of his ear. That. So now you got to think about it in reverse. If we're thinking about sort of this line, it's going to come back that way on the other side of the head. And that's what's going to help your characters feel like their accoutrement, whether it's their ears, their hats, their horns, their whatevers, they're going to actually feel like they're coming out of the volume of the head rather than just being like, here's the ear and guessing at it. Like inside, I'm actually like thinking through and working through all of these things. So the other thing too is this is not quite as appealing as that is. So while you're really paying attention to what everything looks like and you're trying to problem solve through it, you also have to think about it from a design perspective. Like, is this going to look good? I feel like this volume is a little too big for his body. And this is folding in and going under. And does Bambi have, he doesn't have dew claws on the back leg, does he? Kind of hard to tell. I think he just has dew claws on the front. Where's that booty pic that I had earlier? Give me that booty. Give me the booty. Here we go. This is a good one. So again, this is like a really great website. Animation Screen Caps. Yeah, he does have a dew claw on the back. Animation Screen Caps is really great for looking at references, especially like Disney characters. Like if you just Google like Mr. Incredible, you're going to get a lot of really great stuff, but it may not necessarily be accurate to what you see in the movie, because Disney consumer products often takes those characters and DCPs it up. They make it cleaner, they make it more illustrative, and it may not necessarily be true to what you're actually seeing in the movie. There might be tiny little things that are going to be a little different. And I feel like with the animation screen caps as well, you're going to get these weird angles because it's being screen capped every couple of seconds. You're going to have these like weird like Bambi butt, the back of his foot moments that you could actually look at. So the other thing that I'm looking at as I'm building out this character is I'm looking at the length of this leg versus the length of this leg. 99% of your characters are symmetrical, so their arms are going to be the same length. And I know that that's very like self-explanatory, but actually that's something that I've noticed a lot of people may overlook. And people that are really, really good at noticing those sorts of details tend to have really, really solid characters that make sense and really truly look on model because they're seeing those sorts of things. Go. The other thing I'm looking at is, and again, this is why we have these references, is I'm looking at how long that upper arm part is versus the upper part of the leg. And I feel like this one is a little bit shorter than this is. So this is actually a little bit longer. And the brush that I'm using is the water pen brush that I've modified. And the reason why I like to use it is it tends to be, it tends to give me that sort of nice 4B, 6B pencil vibe that I almost exclusively work with. I like a thick, buttery, fat pencil. Because it's soft, and the second you press down, you get that really nice, like, and if you have a light hand, then you also have the really thin, crisp lines, and I find it just so much more helpful. So it's the same thing with my brush. It goes from thick to thin pretty quick, but not so quickly that it completely deteriorates my image. The other thing I'm looking at right now is I'm looking at these lower limbs, the lower front legs and the lower hind legs. They're almost the same length. I'm pretty sure they're the same length, in fact. Yeah, maybe the hind legs are a little bit longer. And this one, I decided I want to blow it out just a little bit. Just kind of stretch it. So again, I'm looking at this and this, making sure that they're the same length. Even though they're posed differently, we still want them to be consistent. And actually, we're going to bend this one back. Oh god, I'm messing with it too much. I'm messing with it too much. But if we bring this down just a little bit, there we go. I think that's what was throwing me off. And I really want to straighten this one. Bambi's got that sort of awkward, like, kind of vibe. That's really charming. And we want to retain that in our drawing. Looking at this line here, that tail. I don't think that tail's gonna be, that reference is not, oh god. Ugh. Let's see, his tail's under his butt. Let's go back a couple of pages. Bambi is born. Bambi is yawning. Thumper's being a rabbit. Come on. I want my reference. Thank you. Okay. I'm trying to get this. Nope. I want it because I want it to be, these are all tilted forward. I think we're gonna have to use this. So even though his tail is like under his butt, it still gives me information of what that tail looks like. And I think I drew it too big because this tail is stretched out, so it's almost the same length as kind of his back thighs. But I think if it's relaxed, it's not going to be quite that long. Yeah, see? That height is very similar to how tall his ears are, but it's just a little bit more slender than his ear. Cool. So let's take a look at these flowers. These are 4-petaled flowers for the most part. And we're gonna just do this on a separate layer. That way I'm not getting like confused. And if I wanna erase something quickly and I hate everything, it'll be much easier to do that because I do that a heck of a lot. So let's build out sort of a mass of flowers that we can then duplicate. So when I was working at Pincraft and I was making, before I got laid off, I was doing a couple of pins a day, going from beginning, middle, and end, from this phase, the concept phase, to bringing into Illustrator, doing the line work, and getting it ready for factory. And when you have such a high turnaround, and that wasn't really mandated, that was more just for me, because I work really fast and I like working fast because I like working on a lot of stuff. You learn where to cut corners. And frankly, I know if I was building this out for Illustrator, I would just be duplicating. I would make 3 different symbols and I would just repeat them across the floor. So that's precisely what we're going to do here. Now we basically create a pattern. Go back in here and block so that we know what this back one is. Erase those. And then we're going to duplicate this and move that back. Oh my gosh. Oh my god, why is it so hard for me all of a sudden? Okay. And we might even flip it. That. And then you go back in and you erase. And again, like, these are just things you learn as you do more and more work and you're under tighter and tighter deadlines. And sometimes you just don't want to have to redraw the same thing over and over and over and over again. So it's really, really helpful to problem solve through these things quickly so that you can get to the fun part. And usually the fun part is like the coloring. So I hate to say this, but it's like sometimes you really got to work smarter, not harder when it comes to illustrating things. So once you do sort of this repeated texture, then you want to go in and you want to unrepeat your texture so that it looks a bit less fake. And it doesn't come off so obvious that you just repeated the texture. Oh my god, Manda is hosting me. Thank you. And you guys are so amazing. Thank you for just like even being here and taking like 5 or 10 minutes or a half hour or an hour of your day. Like, I'm freelancing and I'm unemployed and I'm so lonely. So it really means a lot to have people like here with me and like just supporting me. Like, you guys rock. Thank you for that. Yeah. Let's see. I know that this is going to have a huge flower right there, so I don't need to worry about that. So I really want to get to affiliate because once you get enough followers and you've posted enough videos and you've like done enough videos, then you can become an affiliate. And basically, what that means to me is I can create custom emoticons. Like, that's honestly the only reason why I want to do it, why I want to make it, is because I get to do that. Okay. And then, let's see. I think this one's a little too big. As things move away from you, they're going to get a little bit smaller. Something like that. And then we're going to take this one and we're going to copy and paste it. God. And again, same thing. We're just going to like propagate it. I find doing this, especially in areas like where it's behind a character, you don't have to like obsess about it quite as much. And then even if you want to like deform it a little bit, you'll save yourself like a lot of time, effort, and energy if you just like, just do that. And then the other thing I like to do is on things like this, I like to create sort of a circular space and then have this be flat ground. So this is basically creating a frame. And then I know that that's going to be a gigantic flower in the foreground. And then we have these really beautiful grasses in the background. So I want to actually indicate that, but we're going to do that on a separate layer because, again, I might hate it. And it kind of feels like he's jumping out of this like grassy area forward, you know? Into this space. And this was basically what it was like to design pins, is you would be problem solving through these sorts of things. I have half my office watching while eating lunch. Hi guys! So as we're designing out pins, the other thing you want to be thinking about is the thickness of your pin. So the pins that I was working on, the enamel pins, were about roughly a square inch or height of 1.75. And the reason for that is because that's A, pretty industry standard, B, that's just what Disney wanted, and C, Disney knows how to save money, and they know that if they go larger than 1.75 inches square, then they have to pay more. So we'd utilize as much of that space as possible. So when you're working with something that's literally this big, you also have to think about what's going on the factory side. And so we're trying to fill all this negative space that's between Bambi's legs, because it's really hard for the factory to cut in between the like little shapes of a character's like legs and like this one strand of grass. So you just want to build it out completely and try to consolidate as much of that space as possible and just make it a lot easier on the factory. The other way I like to call it is you're making it idiot proof, because a lot of the people that you work with at the end of the day, they may not necessarily have an understanding of what it is that you're trying to accomplish. So you may be the smartest, most brilliant designer in the world, but somebody that's going to be working on this project afterwards may not be on the same capabilities. They may not be a senior artist. They may not be a senior factory person. They may not even speak the same language as you, like the factories in China often do. So you really want to idiot-proof your design so that you don't have this back and forth on how to problem solve it, and you're minimizing all of the problems as much as you can. Can you make this into a pin, like a physical thing to attach to close type of pin? Yeah, I think that might actually be a really fun thing to do. I think I have to do a run of at least 50. And I actually don't know if it's legal for me to like make Disney pins. But I guess I should just do it until Disney like gives me a cease and desist letter. And by then that's like a couple grand. Yeah, no, I could probably make this into a pin. I think really when it comes to IP law, my understanding of it is, there. It's not Bambi, it's Yambi. And now it's my own thing, and I just don't use Bambi's colors. So there are certainly ways to get around those sorts of things. Maybe we could put some eyes here. No, we're gonna make this my own thing, Disney. We're just gonna put Bambi's eyes over here. So when I make this into a pin, they won't sue me. There. Are you happy? Are you happy, Amanda? Look what you've done. Is that the pin you were referring to with the measurements? Oh, no. Bambi, the Reckoning. Yes! Bambi, Electric Boogaloo. Yeah, this design, I see what you're saying. What am I designing? Yes, I'm designing this so that it would live on into the world as a pin that I would, if I was not unemployed and laid off and scraping by for money, yeah, this would probably be something we would put in front of Disney to be like, you should make this because people like to waste money and it's cute. Something one of my my mentors in college taught us was cute sells. It's really, 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 really hard to say no to a 6-year-old. It's really easy to say no to a 16-year-old. So if your 16-year-old son is coming up and they're like, Dad, I really need this like bukkake statue. It's like, ew, no, you're not getting a bukkake statue. But if your like 6-year-old comes up and he's like, Daddy, I really need like this really cute teddy bear. It's like, oh, I love you. You can have all of it. You can have 5 teddy bears. Whereas with a 16-year-old, you're like, no, you're not getting the bukkake statue. You're getting the teddy bear. And your 16-year-old's like, I'm gonna go smoke weed now, bye. So yeah, it's really hard to say no to a 6-year-old. So you want to design for the 6-year-olds. And you want to design to moms. Because moms typically are the ones that are with the kids. They're at Target. They're doing the shopping. They're the ones that have to like deal with your snot-nosed kids. And their willpower, it gets drained. So how best to drain a woman's willpower and her wallet than by giving her something that's really cute that she can't say no to her. She's buying the Bambi not for her annoying snot-nosed daughter. It's for her. So you got to design for both the baby and the mom. I'm not sure where I'm going with this, but I think the parents out there would understand. Okay, so we're gonna, oh God, what am I doing? Okay, so we're gonna do the lettering now. And again, when I was working at Pincraft, I would have to think about this in terms of like, well, what is the factory going to do? And how is the factory going to F this up? 16, Dad, I really need this Bambi statue. Dad, heck yeah, son. Dad, I really need this Bambi statue. Dad, do I look like... What? Amanda, why do you have to like ruin my daydream of this dad and son? Oh, you don't know that line? No, I don't. I'm sorry. I know Disney films. I'm like this weird amalgamation of like a 60-year-old man and like a 16-year-old girl. Because on one hand, I'm like, ooh, did you see the new Audible about like the Golden State Killer? I've re-listened to it twice. Did you know that serial killers like to do this, that, and the other? Oh, in the Battle of the Bulge, this, that, and the other happened. But I don't know anything about pop culture, but then I'll be like really upset when people don't know what woke means. Oh my god, you've linked me. Okay, I'll look at that later. Can I talk with you about serial... Yes, please! I can't tell my husband about serial killers because then he's like, you guys, like, we have like such tight security in the house, and I'm 5,000% sure it's because I wouldn't shut up about the Golden State Killer for like 4 months. If you know anything about the Golden State Killer, it's basically this like pervy white guy that like broke into people's houses and did horrible, 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 unimaginable things to them that it's not okay to joke about those sorts of things. So I told my husband about it because I wouldn't shut up about it. And now we have like all of the security system bullshit. And I'm like, you know what? If somebody really wanted to break into our house, we're dead. I'm dead right now. What you guys are seeing, it's like the 10-second delay. I'm already dead as I'm speaking. Like, if somebody really wants to get into our house and like destroy us, then we might as well just leave the door unlocked, right? So yeah, I get really excited when other people want to talk about like horrible, horrible crimes. Like, Amanda, have you heard about the toy box guy? I think he was in Arizona. They caught him in the early 2000s. Yes, right? I think it was the Case File podcast that was talking about him. Oh, it was so good. It was so like demented and like effed up. I think he was like a park forest ranger or something. And yeah. I think kids are gonna watch this later, so I'm not just stop talking about this. And I'm drawing Bambi. This is like so fucked up. I'm so sorry. Last podcast on the left, I've heard about it and I can't seem to get into it. So you convince me about why I should like get back into it. Because it's you. This is Bambi. We're gonna do an alternate illustration of Bambi that's like this like messed up serial killer version of Bambi. All right, cool. So we've done that. My soul hurts. I'm stretching. Okay. Okay, we're gonna draw this line. And Bambi's got basically 6. So if we're looking at our reference photo right now, Bambi's got 8 dots on his back, but throughout the film, it changes. These are like millions of frames of animation of individual drawings, so these things will happen. In fact, one of my favorite films to watch is Peter Pan, because Captain Hook goes from like fuchsia to magenta to purple, like in different shots, but like frames. It drives me crazy. But that's going to happen. All of those things are hand-drawn, hand-painted up until, I think, The Little Mermaid, which is when the CAPS system was getting implemented. So it's it's how old I am, 1987. I think Little Mermaid was 89 or 88. But yeah, all the movies up until then were individually painted and hand-done. So you're going to have these irregularities in a character's design. You see how here that we're looking at 6. And then we've got that weird little one in the middle. Go figure. So we're going to ignore those little ones. And again, this is something that you would think about as you're building stuff out for a pin factory to create. You want to remember that they're not going to be able to draw the littlest, tiniest details. Oh, you're convincing me. because they format the information about everything, aliens, serial killers, cults, with respect to every victim, and they make fun of the criminals. So there's 3 hosts, a comedy guy, an information guy, and a guy that doesn't do the research, so he's reacting to the stories with us. You know what that reminds me of? Behind the Bastards. I am, like, obsessed with Behind the Bastards. The most recent one was some CEO, I think. And he's kind of a combination of all 3, because he makes jokes, he gives a lot of information, and then he always has guests on that, like, have no idea what the subject is. And he's covered, like, so many people. He's done Bill Cosby, he's done Alex Jones, he's covered Hitler. I'm a Hitler nerd. There's one guy that was, like, a 4-part, and he was basically, like, the birth of, like, the KKK. Like, there's Behind the Bastards, like, anybody that's watching and you're really into podcasts and you're, like, a history nerd and you're a Hitlerphile like I am, so much good stuff. And the other thing that I really like about him is he will give you what his references are. So I got into, again, this is how I'm, like, a 60-year-old man. I've re-listened to my Audible book about the death of democracy in the Weimar Republic, the late 30s. Because of Behind the Bastards, because he would reference that book. And I'm like, oh my god, I need to listen to this book. So, yeah, podcasts. I do a lot of driving. I'm into it. This, like, center line, this reference line that I drew earlier is driving me crazy, so I'm going to get rid of that. I have to sneeze, but the sneeze isn't coming. Sneeze is gone. Did you know that if you really need to sneeze, all you have to do is, like, look up at the light? And then you'll sneeze. It's because it's, like, something to do with, like, your light receptors in your eyeballs are really close to your sinuses, so it, like, upsets them and pisses them off. And it's like, oh my god, the light! And then your nose is like, oh my god, the light! And you sneeze. Facts. Cool, so we've done all this. So at this stage, I will look at it and realize I've made a big boo-boo. And the big boo-boo is, if we're designing this for a pin, like an enamel pin to be made, sorry, we're just gonna merge all of that because I'm really happy with it. You can't have spring just, like, out there, like this S. What the hell is that S gonna be attached to? What is the brush? Is the iPad 9.7-inch the tablet you're using is a drawing tablet? Yes, it is. I love this tablet. It's tiny. It fits in my purse. Yeah, I like it. The brush that I'm using is a modified water brush. I think I have my streamline, like, cranked up all the way. I think I did something to the grain. Don't ask me what, because I don't remember. And I messed with the opacity. So basically my opacity doesn't jitter at all. And I think I messed with something else. I could, if you want, I could see if I can, like, send you the brush, because it's pretty amazing, and it really does feel a lot like a pencil brush. Gotta start using this Procreate thing. Procreate is the bomb. When I was working at BLT doing theatrical posters, key art, all we worked on was on the iPad, and then we'd have the old timers come in and we'd work on tracing paper with turpentine and graphite, which was really amazing. Like, I can't tell you how orgasmic it is as, like, a traditional artist like myself to be working in like such a heavily digital medium industry for so long, and then you walk into a room full of smelly ass men, and it smells like fuck what the men smell like. It smells like graphite, and you're just like, it smells like art school. Like, hold on, let me show you my drugs. It smells like graphite. So it was amazing. Remember Marjan's class? It smelled like that. Yeah, I mean, and honestly, that was why I taught in Marjan's class. I was her TA. Marjan was our anatomy and life drawing teacher. I loved TAing for her because I would just, like, come out smelling like an old master's studio. It was like heaven. And then I go into, like, a smelly, like, computer lab for 4 hours waiting for something to fucking render. I'm so bitter. Okay, so anyway, back to what we were working on. So the problem that we're running into right now is we have, if this was going to be made into a pin, you got to remember that all of the black that we're looking at is going to be metal. So this S needs to attach to something. And there's a couple of ways that we can achieve that. There's a couple of places that we can do that. And then also, like, we have this sort of like empty space right here. So I had originally plotted out that that was going to be a big ass flower, but I think we're going to skip that and just do that. But we're going to soften this edge up just a little bit. Same thing here and here. Because it's really hard for the machines when you're making enamel pins. It's hard for them to cut into these little areas. It's not as hard for like these long spaces, but when you've got like a little nook like that, it's really hard for them. So you want to minimize that. So one of my favorite ways of basically just cheating this whole process when you're designing an enamel pin and you have this like hanging space is, I call it the Rocco's Modern Life because they used a lot of these like forms. You just do that. And you just use that as a fill because I'm lazy and I don't care. And honestly, like, it's not worth the time, effort, and energy to like try to like create some big, glorious background back here that is probably not going to read anyways because it's already going to get so granular and small that you don't want to bother. And then also just from a legibility standpoint, you don't want to mess with your type too much. Sorry, I have this like tangent right here. It's getting a little too tight. Right there. There we go. So that's how we would solve that. And then we're going to do the fun stuff now. And the fun stuff is coloring. Get out of here. Okay, so usually I've got an hour left. What are some pro tips you have for creating type? Pro tips for creating type? Kill yourself. No, I'm just kidding. Actually, that's something I've been working on a lot. What I've been using obsessively, and I actually was working on this last night, was I used the Speedball notebook. Oh, it's been around since 1902, and it's great. It's a comprehensive guide to pen and brush lettering, originated by Ross F. George, and it's great. You get to see some of the old logo types there, glyphs rather, and it gives you just this overview of like how to hold a pen, how to load a pen. This is more for ink, but there's a lot of lettering basics in this book that I think are just far more interesting and far more helpful and far more inspiring than using somebody's tutorial on YouTube. I personally am obsessed with, I was really obsessed with black letter, but then I felt like I was getting a little too Hail Hitler, like just doing black letter on everything. So I started practicing my Spencerian, Spencerian, where are you, Spencerian? Gaelic, black letter. Damn it! This is not what I want. Here it is, in my round hand. So practicing this obsessively for like the past 2 months almost has made my lettering exquisite in that I could throw something together really quickly and have a solution pretty quickly without pixel effing it too much. I've already said fuck. I don't know why I'm like censoring myself. Like without pixel fucking the shit out of all of my lettering, I just found that if I practice my lettering every day, it just gets better. If you suck at lettering, just open up Illustrator and like go to dafont.com and just like throw something in there. Sorry, what is pixel fucking? Pixel fucking is it's more of like a graphic design term, and it's like and we also call it frame fucking for editing. It's like move it this way, move it that way, move it this way, move it that way. So it's this motion, hence the fucking. And you're like pixel fucking the shit out of everything, and you're moving this 1 or 2 pixels around, and it's just like, in the grand scheme of things, moving that pixel around isn't going to do anything for you. Yeah, so now you know what to call pixel fucking, Amanda. So yeah, I don't like pixel fucking. And I don't like frame fucking, which is why I don't do editing. And that's why I also don't do graphic design, because pixel fucking's not for me. I like to lay everything out, put everything on a grid, slap it in, drink a coffee, and deliver my stuff a day early, even though I finished it 3 days early. So yeah. Okay. So let's color this. Because I've got about an hour left. We might as well just start coloring it. So if I was doing this for Disney, they typically, so with enamel pins, every color that you use is like $1.50 or something, or it's like 50 cents. So you want to keep your enamel pin count, your enamel color count below 6, and that's including white and black. So you're going to have green in the background. I can't tell if I need a barf or not. No, no barfing, sorry. So we're gonna do this sort of overall fill. Now, if I was actually working in Illustrator, I would be holding pretty tight to the lines right now, but I'm not gonna do that for the purposes of this video, because I'm not working in Illustrator and I'm in Procreate. But I would fill all this out. We're gonna try to be as pixel perfect as possible, but that's most likely not gonna happen. Ugh. Sometimes I like to cheat, and I will use the automatic select. But the thing with that is if you've been really lazy about your line work, you probably can't do automatic select because there's too many holes in the artwork. What the F is it grabbing? Oh, I see. I like how I'm being very like selective and not selective about when I decide to cuss. Okay. Yes! Fuck you and die. Clear. Okay, there we go. Brilliant. Grab that. Fill this in. How many colors are you limited as far as making an enamel pin? Typically, I would say when I was working with Disney, they liked us to keep, here, I can mark it here. You would keep it under less than 1.75 inches square, right? And you want to use less than 6 enamel colors, and that's including black and white. So then you have actually 4 colors to work with. If you have to use more than that, you can, but they're usually a little grumbly about that. So that's just something to think about. So usually here's what ends up happening is I'll pick my base color, which is like I have to have this color, and then sort of the other colors that are just like you can't have this character without using this color, which is going to be like that Bambi brown, right? I don't know if it's my allergies or what. My nose is like so itchy. Freehand. The other reason why I really like working with Procreate is the lasso tool, because I'm using a pencil. It's a lot easier to use than Photoshop, even though I really miss Photoshop's magnetic lasso sometimes. That's just because I'm lazy. Like having like pinpoint precision on your lassos is like really, really great, especially if you're trying to do masking and stuff like that. So we know that for our enamel count, this is one color, this is another color, and then these Bambi And we have to have that darker brown, right? And the like tan color. So right there, you've pretty much used up all of your block. You've used up practically all of your enamel colors. So you always want to start with the enamel colors that you like cannot live without. And that's always going to be whatever color this character is. And then you have to start figuring it out backwards from there. What does this tail look like? There we go. Right? So we have that. And then his spots are going to be that color. We're going to make the inside of his ears that same color. And then we have that dark brown on the top of his head. But it's more like almost more red. And then white. And you're just like, great, I've just, let's see, would Disney typically give you a color palette when making characters so that they are all specific colors, or do you just go close enough? A little bit of column A and a little bit of column B. I've had notes from Disney that have asked me to change a Pantone color that's like markedly different from what I've chosen. And I've had them change it like so subtly that like I don't personally see a difference, but I'm sure that when you're printing it, you will see that difference. And you're also using a very specific Pantone. You're using Pantone coated when you're doing Disney pins as well. And I think that I'm sure there's information on this. Let's see, Disney Mickey Red Pantone. I'm sure there's this information online somewhere. Because they have to submit the patents and all that stuff somewhere. Yeah, see? PMS 485C. So that would be precisely what I would get, is I would get a note that's like, no, you need to change it to this. This looks like Donald. This looks like Donald's. Yeah, this 123C, I used a lot of this color. Oh my god. I think it's because I was working on a lot of Donald stuff for a while. But yeah, no, part of it is Disney's giving these very specific colors, and part of it is they're just like, I don't know, just figure it out, because they don't make a lot of pins of that character. Maybe they don't have that enamel information on hand. I've also worked on pins for Disney Tokyo and Shanghai, and they're not quite as picky about colors as Store and Disney Parks is, like here in LA and Florida Disney Parks. So it really just also depends on the branch of Disney. OMD, Oh My Disney, was really, 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 really picky about a lot of stuff. And they kept giving us notes that were just kind of like, okay. But WDI, which is Walt Disney Imagineering, would be like, whatever, like we figured it out. So it really just depended on the branch of Disney we're working with. So you can see here, we are already down to our 4 colors. So this is basically how I would just start and just be like, okay, I know you guys want me to start off. I know you really want to do 3 colors or 6 colors, but we're gonna have to do more than that. Black is actually not going to be one of the ones we use. So I know we're going to be using white, so we could, where did I put that note? So white is going to be one of those colors, and then we have 5 colors left over to make that 6 color limit or whatever. Excuse me, what the hell? Ah! What the fuck is happening? Guys, what? I feel like I'm having an aneurysm. What the fuck? Normal, stroke, spacing. Did I seriously just like mess up my pencil? Because if I did, I'm actually going to have like, I'm gonna start throwing hands. Oh yeah, I did something to it. Okay. What the fuck did I do? Really upset. You guys, I broke my pen. Actually, I think I made it better, but I'm still pretty upset about it. Okay, hold on. Size. Oh my god, I'm seriously so upset right now. Amount. No. No. Oh my god. I don't know what I just fucking did to my brush, but I fucking broke it. And now that it's broken, I can't work. Fuck you, I have a backup! I have to problem solve that later. What the fuck happened? I'm so upset. Okay. Yeah, okay. So now we actually have 5 colors. We're okay. Now we have 5 colors that we're working with. So if we're looking at this and we're like, what is one color that we cannot live without? I would either say pink or I would say that like yellow. Probably, but there's already so much yellow in here. So we're gonna put this on a different layer. And we're gonna clip this actually into mask. We're gonna clip everything in. And to make this pink color, I like to make everything more yellow. Okay, we'll make it yellow. I like to make everything kind of part of the same color family. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shift this over and then pull it up a bit. That way it doesn't feel like it's like this abstract, ambiguous yellow that like nobody invited to the party. I'm pretty sure that doesn't make any sense, but it made sense in my soul, which is what's most important here. So the other thing here that I would suspect is going to be an issue for the factory is all of this detail in the grass and in the flowers. That's actually something that's going to have to be screen printed in, and that's now walking into a whole different territory of problem solving the mechanical process of an enamel pin. So we're not going to worry about that, but I do want to put that out there for anyone that is looking to get into doing enamel pins. I just want to highlight some of the things that you are going to run into that's going to be a problem. And then we'll make this white. Oh, cool. Cool. That doesn't fucking work either. I'm not upset. I've noticed as I have more physical pain in my body, the more I cuss. There's like a very distinct correlation between the two. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. Okay. Bust that out. Yeah. Cool. And I think the only other thing that I would push for, I think I would make some of these flowers white, just to break up sort of the monotony. And again, that would be screen printed in. But that's, I think, again, for another discussion. So just to break that up a little bit, right? Break that up here. And I think what I would do is I would pull this yellow and actually replace that. Because in the film, it's got that sort of reddy color. I just think that that's more handsome. And we'll make the last color a green. Do that. We're gonna be a little messy about that because I just want to see how it looks. And then if you know that you're going to be screen printing a lot of this stuff in, then that gives you a little bit of luxuries in terms of what you can do here. So what I mean by if this was an enamel pin and we were screen printing it, there's a whole bunch of processes that are involved in setting up a file to go to the factory to be made into an enamel pin. So this here, that would be enamel, right? But these lines would actually be screen printed black on top of everything. And then this big block of yellow would be enamel that's like poured into the mold, but then this white would be like a stamp. It would be screen printed on top of it. Or vice versa, this whole thing would be white, and then we would have the yellow screen printed on top. It's hard to explain because I'm not building out that file right now. We're just like building out a concept for it, but that's just something that you have to think about as an enamel pin designer in the long term. So if I'm thinking, okay, in the long term, this is going to be a screen printed yellow, then I would probably I would take advantage of that and I would start putting in yellow details like that, just to break up the green and make it look like the little baby flowers. You see that? And maybe even through the grass to break the grass up a little bit. Right? Brilliant. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. What is this? Put this in here. And something I like to do is I'll turn off my line work and I just, thank you. I'll just look at my colors and see if everything makes sense without all of my lines as well. So we've got about 40 minutes. Oh my God, I'm so thirsty. So since we have about 40 minutes, I say we clean up this line work a little bit. So what I like to use for my line work is the calligraphy brush, and it's a modified version of the script. So what parts of the pin do you, as the designer, determine will be enameled versus background? Are you saying some parts will be raised or embossed? Yes. So the factory can only pour enamel in things that are a certain size, right? So if we're looking at this to scale on my screen, for you guys it's not going to be very accurate, but I'll show you. It's about the height of my thumb, right? So all of those little I'm like looking at it, like all of those little flowers that are in this design, all of that grass, the factory cannot pour enamel into these little slivers here. So what I'm thinking about is actually the way that this is, even though I'm not building in Illustrator, I'll show you guys how I would ink this in Illustrator. I would build out Bambi's form. So I'm pretend that I've already built out Bambi, just for the purposes of talking about the grass and the flowers here. So for the grass, I would do my line work like this, because what I'm drawing is where the green enamel is going to be poured. Actually, that's going to be a little too tight for the factory, so more like that. And the other thing that you have to think about is like the factory can't cut into really tiny spaces as well. Like this is already pretty tight. So this is where all of my green enamel is going to be poured. So on and so forth, right? So this space would all just be poured on the factory side. That would be all green enamel. And then you would indicate that you would want a screen print on top of it that is going to indicate the grass part of it. Like that, right? So then what's being screen printed in black on top of your grass is this. So you have to think about, when you're building out mechanicals for enamel pins, you have to think about what the capabilities are of the factory, what their limitations are, and costs. Screen printing, every single screen print you do costs something. So that's something else to consider too. If you're doing this really great design of Bambi jumping and doing this whole process and screen printing 2 different colors, and Disney comes back and they say, no, we can't screen print 2 colors, well then you have to start making sacrifices and decide, well, what is it exactly that I'm going to sacrifice? So it'd be the same thing with the flowers here. These flowers would be a solid form, and they would get screen printed, say, white. And then you would go in, and we actually mark, where I was working, we would mark it with this like magenta color. You would have the insides of the flowers screen printed on top of it, right? So that would be that would be part of the black screen print. What's this? So the magenta is what your black screen print is going to be, right? And then you're like, oh, but I also really want yellow flowers all over this whole thing. Well, the yellow flowers are going to be printed under the black screen print. And so we'll use like a hot green for this. Actually, no, not a hot green. Let's use a blue since we're not using that in here. We usually use magenta and blue to like call these sorts of things out. So we know that we want some of these flowers to be yellow. So in your file, you would go through and you would demarcate, this would be a yellow flower and that would be a yellow flower. And I know that I want some yellow flowers in the green part of my drawing. That. And the way that you also lay it out in a mechanical, you're laying out all the different layers, all the different enamels. It's really hard to explain this without having a file open. So I'll build a file, and next Thursday, when you guys come back, I'll be able to walk you through the file, and this will make a little bit more sense, and I'll actually build it out for you in Illustrator. But you would have these sort of indicators of where your screen would be. And so it would just print yellow on wherever we indicated with blue. I hope some of that makes sense, because the more I talk about it, the less it makes sense, but it makes sense in my head. Okay, so let's get rid of all that, and let's just do some line work, because I think line work is like really fun, and it's like, oh yay, good, it makes sense. So yeah, let's do some line work. I'm thinking. So if I was building this out, yeah, okay. I'm just gonna do the line work. I'm not gonna try to build it out as an enamel pin, because I'm just gonna do that in Illustrator next week for you guys. So the brush that I'm using is a modified version of the script pen, and the reason why I like using it is because it goes from thin to thick, or it can stay thin if I keep a lighter touch, or I could bring down the size and it stays pretty thin. So I will start off, I tend to start with the parts of the body that are the farthest forward, and in this case it's his snout. That. Okay. That. So this is like the most rewarding, most pleasant part of illustrating, because it's like, it's so mindless. And I think that this is like the like the magical part. too, because people are like, wow, you're so good. And it's like, girl, I'm just tracing. Like, thank you, but I'm just tracing my own work. And this is also sort of the stage where you can start catching the little tiny mistakes you might have made. But really at this point, you are not reworking anything of your composition. You are not reworking the design at all. There's not going to be any big sort of design decisions that are made at this point. Everything should be pretty much locked in. I think the one exception would be sort of like, oh, I noticed that I didn't make his eye quite big enough, so I'm just going to fix that. But we're not actually changing the overall, like, spatial relationships of everything. So I don't know if you guys play a lot of video games, like in the arcade. I am a huge arcade nerd. My husband and I actually met at an arcade. Most of my friends are at an arcade. I'm gonna be wearing a suit in a wedding in a month for a friend's wedding who I met at an arcade. In the background, I have a song from Dance Rush playing. It's called Hoo Ha, and it gives me such life. It makes me so happy. So I'm just kind of like all hyped up, like drawing this really delicate character. Okay. So this era of Disney characters had this sort of situation with their eyeballs. It's kind of like that classic Disney eye. And we don't have as much of that now. This was kind of very much like the 1940s vibe. And actually, if you look at the line work on Bambi, you'll notice it's super subtle, but his eyebrow, so this line that's coming around his eye, not a full anime kind of look, yes. Oh, welcome back, Chazzy. This eyebrow is a little bit thicker right here, so I'm gonna thicken it as I go up into it. You see that? Another thing that I really love about working with the iPad and I love my Cintiq. My Cintiq is my other monitor. It's right here, and it's like a pretty big one. I love my Cintiq, but I'm not able to like really move around my canvas quite the same way and like really get into it because I can move my iPad very easily, but I can't really do that with the Cintiq quite as well. So if you're on the fence about getting an iPad, I would highly recommend it. That's such a bumper sticker. My other monitor is a Cintiq. Oh my god! I should totally design that. Hold on, we're gonna write that down. I'm gonna use my Real Akuma pad. My other monitor is a Cintiq. Genius. Amanda, you're getting 10% of all the profits on this bumper sticker whenever I design it. I think it'd be really dope. Hi, Doug! Yay! I was just talking about you and the wedding. Oh, another thing that I was thinking as I was drawing this out. So you see how in my reference, oh, my back. Oh, my back. Ow! You do yoga. All of his hair has this cool like 2002 sort of like going forward. Well, because he's gonna be jumping. Wait, that's Stag's wedding? Yeah, it's Stag's wedding that I was talking about. Watching as I eat poke for lunch. Yes, I'm really into salmon and good turtle. I will kill a man for some good turtle. Oh yeah. So as I was saying, as I go back to drawing it, because he's jumping, his hair is gonna have some of that sort of like, whoosh, like there's gonna be that vibe. What am I trying to say? The physics that are going to affect the top of his head and the hair on it. So we want that hair to come up a little bit, like that. You see that? It's like, no. Yay. Yeah. Dag and I have known each other since we were both raving before EDM was even a thing. John Dag? Yes, this is John Dag. Dag and I have known each other since EDC was still in LA. Well, not in LA, but like California. We've known each other since Together as One and Monster Massive, since Go Ventures was around, since DDR Extreme. Oh, I still think DDR Extreme is the best mix. Fight me. Fight me. Oh, Dag, you missed it. Since early 2005. That was the year I graduated, right? I think 2005. Yeah, because it was you, me, and James. And I think James was driving by then. Or maybe it was right after we graduated. I don't really remember. Yep. So Bambi's sort of forehead situation, hairline, I don't know what you want to call that. It goes up to about where that center point is on the top of his eyebrow. And my dumbass actually lined this incorrectly. So this is actually going to go straight back, and then that eyebrow is going to peek out. Hashtag Bambi's lace front. Ooh, I would be living for a Bambi drag queen. That would make me so happy. Oh my god. Oh, Dag, I was saying earlier, there was a Dance Rush song playing. And now it's another Dance Rush song. But it's K-pop. I don't know if you guys can hear my music at all. Turning it up all the way. But my speaker doesn't want to turn up. That's fine. There we go. Why don't you want to work? Come on. It's very easy. Interesting. Maybe it is up all the way. Dag, does that mean your wedding cake will have hella fruit? Oh yeah. So my friend Dag, oh my god, you guys have to see this YouTube channel. Look up on YouTube, look up on YouTube, Dag, D-A-G, tries fruits. Good, that's fine. That actually means that I'm not going to get copyright strikes on YouTube. Don't worry about it. It's Big Bang. It's a Korean boy band that I'm obsessed with. Look up Dag Tries Fruits on YouTube. It's absolutely hilarious. I feel like the small bit of hair looks like how a duck would. Shook. Yeah. And it's, what is going on here? Hold on. Chaz over here looking out for me. There you go. Well, let me finish my thought. You guys have to check out, yes, thank you for linking it, facebook.com Dag Tries Fruits. It's absolutely freaking hilarious. I've known Dag for like forever. I'm like one of his groomsmen, and I didn't know that he doesn't like fruit. And so his fiance is just like torturing him with all these different fruits, and like we're all really invested in trying to find a fruit that Dag likes. And so far, no luck. I really want you to try that mystery fruit, Dag. The thing that you eat, and then it makes everything taste super sweet, and then like eat like a lemon or something. I really want to see, because I think what you were saying is you don't, because you really like sweet stuff, but you don't like the soury part of the fruit. I really think that like magical fruit thing will really help you. Fresh ice cream instead of cake. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Yeah, I personally love fruit, so Dag, if I wasn't your friend, I would stop talking to you. I just wouldn't believe that you're human. I think it sounds like fun. Are you gonna have fruit ice cream at all, or are you just gonna have what is it? You always get like cookies and cream. You're like a 33-year-old man, and like every time we go out for like boba, you always get cookies and cream like smoothie or something. It's the most adorable thing ever. It's like we're all drinking like our long teas. We're all like easy sugar. Like I'm on a diet. My boobs are too big. Like whatever. And you're like, I will have the cookies and cream. Thank you. We're just like male metabolism. So lucky. Okay, I'm geeking out over Dag too much. Hold on. Let me just do my job, please. Thank you. I'm so busy talking shit, I can't like draw straight anymore. We'll have a fruit option. Sweet. One of our friends, Lauren, yeah, crashed the wedding. Oh no, Amanda, you totally should have crashed my wedding. I would have been down for that. We were in Palm Springs. It was 110 degrees outside. So I was like, all right, we're gonna go outside and we're having like a 10-minute ceremony and your asses are getting back inside for like the AC. And we had like frozen watermelon and like frozen like grapes, like like popsicles that were like half frozen, just because it was so freaking hot outside. And I just was so worried about everyone like dying from heat exposure, dying from heat stroke, that I just was like, give everyone all the waters and all the juice and all of the fruit that Dag didn't eat because he doesn't like fruit. That. So the other thing that I'm thinking about as I'm like cleaning up my art is one of the most important and one of the most easiest ways to make your stuff look good is S-curves. It's just put S-curves on everything and it'll make your stuff look way, way, way better. It's worth just taking a moment to see how hard you can push the S-curve meme in your drawings. Oh, the XX is playing. You guys can't hear it, but it's so good. Oh my god, durian. I have to be in the durian video. I'm really into stuff that disturbs me and sickens me, just so that I could say, like, for a fact, like, no, this is really disturbing, or so that I could be that guy and be like, no, I love durian. Like, from what I understand, durian tastes like custard. I'm really into custard. The drawing is looking amazing. Thank you. Bye, Dag. Love you. Thanks for watching. But yeah, durian tastes and looks like custard, but it smells like corpses or like stinky feet cheese or something. I don't know. I've never smelled it. I've never been near it. But I did see the corpse flower in the Huntington when it was out last summer maybe, and it smelled like a corpse. I haven't personally smelled a whole lot of corpses, but I did have a dead mouse in my closet for like a month, and it smelled like death. That's not a fun smell. I've also been in the ER, also not a fun smell, but it doesn't quite smell like death. It smells like bodily fluids, like a sangria of ouch, you know? Anyway, corpse flower and durian. I imagine that's what it smells like. And I want to put that in my mouth and eat it just so I could say that I did. So that's, I'm sure, really healthy and normal. Has anyone tried durian? Like, anyone that's watching that can comment, like, have you? Because I really want to know. I really want to try it and cry. It smells like sexy, sexy durian. Ah. Sexy, sexy durian as opposed to unattractive durian? What is, okay, so if durian smells like sexy, sexy durian, what does unsexy durian smell like then? Does it smell like 6th grade dance? I want to know. Like, instead of platonic eggplant, I'm into eggplant. I'm really into it. Don't make me explain my brain. Okay, don't. By the way, Manda has the most adorable, most amazing channel. If you guys are really into Overwatch and video games in general, please, please, please follow her and, like, watch her day drink. She plays and loses competitive deathmatch. I'm convinced that because I play so much Solid Snake and Half-Life and Resident Evil, I'm a great strategist. I think it makes me a better laser tag player. What the fuck am I drawing? This looks like shit. I'm fucking offended. What am I doing? If you don't like your eardrums, that's true. Amanda does do a lot of screeching. Here we go. Okay. My cat found a mouse once and took the corpse and laid it on my bed. I will never forget that. Oh, your cat was trying to feed you. I wish my cats would do that, but, well, my one cat. My other cat died. I wish my cats would do that. I'd be really into that. I'd be like, okay, cool. We're going to build a pyre and we're going to put it on our little pond and we're going to set it ablaze and give it like a Viking burial. Because that's what it would have wanted. Yeah. My cat Simone died. We had Simone for 7 years, 5 years, 2 years, 2002, 7 years. 2002, 2012. 6 years. I'm really bad at math. That's why I'm an artist. We had Simone for 6 years, and she died within a week of me noticing she was really, 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 really skinny. And what the fuck? What's this fat guy doing in the yard across the street? Putting on he's taking off his shirt. There's an undershirt. To clarify, there's a lot across the street from my house, and they're trying to sell it. They've been trying to sell it for a while. Long story short, it's like a couple of acres. Turn the camera, let me see fat dude. No! He's my fat dude. You can't look at my fat dude. And I always see people like going through the lot. I think it's because they're interested in the property. The thing is you can't build on that land. In fact, there was like a 300, 200-year-old oak tree that was there and actually toppled just a couple of years ago, which was really tragic because it was a beautiful oak tree. But yeah, sometimes people just like drive up and I'm like, bitch, I will stab you. I'm so laissez-faire, like right up until I'm like actually feeling threatened, and then I'm like, I'm from LA. I will piss on you. I'm gonna buy it and live next to you. Please. There's actually like 4 or 5 houses like near me that are on sale. Like the fucking property behind me, it's got like 3 houses and it's worth like $700,000. We bought ours for like $440 something. Like, please live. This is actually really cheap for LA. Like, please live near me. Why would someone want to build on what you say? What? Why would somebody want to build on what you say perfect house? I don't understand. Help me, Chazzy. What do you mean? I think more than anything, maybe the reason why I get so protective and like offended when people are over there, it's because we have a lot of wildlife in my area. The Verdugo Hills are like that, like behind you guys. And it's I don't know if you guys knew about the fires that happened a couple of years ago. That was me. I got evacuated. My shit almost burnt down. And we have a lot of wildlife that lives in our hills. We have a whole coyote den back there, which I get to see every so often. It makes me so happy. But we've got rabbits and quail. We've got peacocks. We've got like a whole bunch of stuff. And when people go trampling back there, I personally get really upset because it's like, yo, like, that's somebody's house. Oh, it's okay. Just reword it and tell me what you meant because I want to understand. That's somebody's house. Like, those coyotes live up there. And, like, I don't know. It upsets me. It's like, you don't live here. You're not even from this area. And you're, like, strolling up into my hood with your, like, ugly ass blue button up and, like, trampling around and bothering my coyotes. Don't do that. It's rude. So we're just going to turn that off and just look at it. Oh, sweet Lord. I'm gonna go Princess Mononoke up there and attack the blue button-ups with the coyotes. No, but seriously though, like, I've actually yelled at people that, like, go up there, and I'm like, hi. And I, like, stare at them, and I'm like, mom face. What's up? Like, you know, the Golden State Killer used to do this sort of fucking shenanigan. Are you gonna break into my house and, like, bother my husband and give him nightmares and then put in, like, a whole nother dozen, like, cameras around our house because we don't have enough already? Like, go home. Please. Speaking of Princess Mononoke, I think they're doing, I'm sweating, I'm itchy all over, like, I think it's my bra. The moral is don't wear bras. Princess Mononoke, they're doing all the Hayao Miyazaki's, all the Hayao Miyazaki films. They're showing them at the Regency Theaters here in LA, and I don't know if it's exclusive to just the Regency Regency Theaters near me, but if you're into Princess Mononoke or any of his films, like, definitely go and see it in a theater. Seeing an animated film in a theater, like, I saw Fantasia at the Chinese theater during TCM Film Festival. It was orgasmic. It's like, that's the way you should be seeing animated films. So if you get the chance, definitely see Princess Mononoke like that. It's worth it. Cool. So I'm feeling pretty good about this. And if this is something that you want to pursue, like you want to do enamel artwork, this process is actually precisely what I used to do when I was working at Pincraft, when I would pitch designs. And typically they wanted us to do sketches, but this was like an extra, half hour of my day to just sketch this out, because 9 times out of 10, I would always get approvals and I would just go ahead and do the design. So what you would do is you would bring this into Illustrator and you would take the black and white line, pop it into Illustrator, do live trace, boom, use the live paint tool, and your enamel pin's like done super quickly. For Fantasia, dancing Russian mushrooms are my spirit animals. Oh wait, the flowers were Russian, the mushrooms were Chinese. The mushrooms were Chinese. The flowers were Russians, yes. Technically, they're all Russians because it's Tchaikovsky, but I know what you mean. Are you the, like, the really tall one, or are you the little one that's like super derpy in the shot? Amanda, your spirit animal. I feel like my spirit animal is like a World War II veteran with dementia. The little one? Yeah, I think you're the little one. In fact, I'm pretty sure that my spirit animal is like a really pissed off old man. Pissed off old men are like my favorite, because you just got to give them a little bit of love and be like, you're so angry. Can I give you a Snickers? You'll be okay, I promise. And they're like, okay, I feel better. I like you now. Or just like you sit next to them and you just like scooch closer and closer to them. You're like, hi, so what are you doing? It either irritates the bejesus out of them, or they like get mad respect for you because like you keep bothering them. You're not afraid of them. But I think if I was a pissed off old man, I would like adopt like a parakeet and just teach it like bad words or some shit. I bet if we give Trump a Snickers, he'll turn into Bernie Sanders. That's a bold claim, Manda. Have you seen what Trump eats? BuzzFeed did like a, we ate like Trump for a day, and he eats like 5 bazillion Big Macs, like 6 or 7 Diet Cokes, and like the BuzzFeed staff that like decided to participate in this thing, like he literally has like 3 Diet Coke cans already on his desk, and the guy's like, the production, the PA is coming over to like give him another can, and he just like looks at him and he's like, do you not see that I have 3 cans in front of me already? And they have to drink these Diet Cokes with like these hamburgers and these Salisbury steaks. He eats like a child. We literally have a child for a president. It's really funny. Most kids in college rebel by getting high. I rebelled by watching Fantasia. Girl, same. I saw Fantasia for the first time in college and loved it. My parents' dad wouldn't let us watch Fantasia when we were little because he was very religious and didn't want us seeing Mickey dressed as a sorcerer or the Night on Bald Mountain scene. Okay, I could see that. The Night on Bald Mountain scene is actually pretty scary, in my opinion. But that's a little shocking to hear, like, somebody's parent was really concerned about Mickey Mouse. Because you would think of, like, all the things that parents would be threatened by. Like, I have some conservative friends who weren't allowed to watch Harry Potter growing up. So that's the first time I'm hearing of somebody not being allowed to watch Mickey Mouse. It's interesting. I rebelled in high school, not by drinking or doing drugs. I just had a lot of boyfriends. And I just would never come home. But that's actually a really sad story that we don't need to get into, because this is about Bambi, not about parental alcoholism and abuse. Okay, so this is gonna take fucking forever, and it's actually not very interesting to do. So I'm just gonna do a couple of them so that I could flex for the gram. You know? Are you Bambi, Flower, or Thumper? That's a good question. Probably Thumper. I like to tell my husband a lot, if you don't have anything nice to say, say nothing at all. So maybe I'm Thumper in that regard. I think my spirit animal is a rabbit. So yeah, probably Thumper. Yep. I feel like if I was any, like, Disney character, I would probably be the Mad Hatter. Like, I just really live in my own reality. What's your patronus? Because mine is a wild hair. I don't know what a patronus is, but if you educate me, I could answer that question for you. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna color that bit. Oh, it's a Harry Potter thing? I don't know anything about Harry Potter. Apparently, I'm a Slytherin. Which, judging by the sound of it, and the way that people tell me that I'm a Slytherin, I think it makes sense. But yeah, I don't know. Can you give me a patronus? Is that like a Polonius thing? Because I'm really into Hamlet and, like, Shakespeare. You guys like how, like, in previous videos, I'm like, label all of your layers, but for this video, I'm like, I don't have the, like, mental capacity to do that. And I just realized I can't start coloring this because this video is almost over. There's an official close on Powdermore. I don't think anyone else has the authority to tell you what you are. Okay, well, I'll have to do that later and report back. But yeah, so we are done with Bambi for today. Next week on Thursday, I will do all of this in Illustrator, because I think that's just something I've noticed on Twitch we don't have a whole lot of, and I really want to be able to demystify Illustrator for people, because it's really not that challenging or frustrating of a program as people like to think that it is. And yeah, and again, thank you for everyone who's watching, who's asking questions and talking to me. I am unemployed and so lonely. So it really means a lot to have people watching, to have new followers. I see that I got 2 new followers today. Thank you so much. And tell people about me. If you see somebody that is young, that is struggling to become an artist, they really want to get into Disney, or even maybe not little kids for this particular video because I accidentally cussed a lot, but I really love to teach. I really love answering questions, and I really truly believe that everybody can draw. Everybody's fully capable of it. All that it is, it's a way of thinking, and it's muscle memory physically in your hand. Just like calligraphy, just like riding a bike, just like anything else, part of it is building the muscle memory in your hand, and then just building the neurological connections in your brain to be able to see an object and then translate it into a 2D shape. So yeah, I hope you guys are having a really great day. I'm going to try to stream on and off throughout the weekend. I will be back on Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and that is everything. I'm going to go eat lunch and maybe take a nap because this sort of wore me out. I love you guys. I hope you're doing well. Bye.